Hi all, my name is Jane Register and I am married to Willie Register and am the Director of Development for World Relief Southern California. Today's verse comes from Luke 9:48. It says, "Anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf welcomes me, and anyone who welcomes me also welcomes my Father who sent me. Whoever is the least among you is the greatest." So the context of this verse is so important. So the backdrop is basically the disciples jostling for status, jostling for recognition, importance, and they're arguing about who is the greatest. And Jesus brings a child in front of them and says this verse, "Anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf welcomes me. And anyone who welcomes me also welcomes my Father who sent me. Whoever is the least among you is the greatest." So why does Jesus do this? So he sees the disciples. They're arguing. They're puffing up. And they're jostling. They're jostling to see who is the most important. And so he brings this kid in front of them. He doesn't directly say something to them, but he addresses what they're arguing about by bringing this child in front of them. During this time and in this culture, children were seen as insignificant. They were seen as powerless. And growing up in a Korean household, I could actually relate to that. I grew up in a culture where men and elders were given the most value. So during meal times, adults actually sat at the table to eat, and children sat on the ground to eat. And basically, kids were not allowed to eat until the oldest male, so my grandfather, until they ate their food, until they touched their food, basically. And so it was interesting that Jesus brings this child to his side, a vulnerable, dependent, powerless, insignificant child, insignificant person. So this was a demonstration to the disciples that Jesus defines greatness differently. He's saying, me and my Father, we define greatness differently, in stark contrast to the culture of that day. And Jesus is saying, true greatness has nothing to do with your social status, your power, your bank account, your material possessions, your zip code. He's saying, I don't define greatness the way that the world does. And he's saying, I define it completely differently. He's saying greatness looks like this child. It looks like dependence. It looks like vulnerability. So I want you to think of people that are often overlooked in our society. We all have these people that we probably pass by every day. And if we're honest, there are people that we consider less than, insignificant, unimportant. And Jesus is saying, yes, that person, that insignificant person is the greatest. Anyone who welcomes that person on my behalf welcomes me. And if you welcome me, you welcome my Father who sent me. So a personal, Christ-like Christian ethic, this biblical practice of welcoming the least, reminds us that we're a part of this upside down kingdom where the last is first, the least is greatest. And he actually welcomes us to embrace our brokenness. He gives us permission to acknowledge our vulnerabilities in a world that does the opposite, that rewards and values those with power, status, significance, accomplishments. And as we welcome the forgotten ones, the ones that are sitting on the ground, the ones that are on the margins, the ones that are overlooked in our society, we're reminded that He welcomed us first when we had nothing to give Him. And He invites us to actually do the same, to practice that same thing. So I encourage you to invite God into your day, to show you personally who are the least among you in your life. Because you're going to encounter those people today as you walk out the door. Who are the least among you in your life, in your neighborhood, at your workplace? And ask God how you can welcome that person on His behalf. So my prayer for you today is that God would open your eyes to see the people that He's placed around you with kingdom eyes today, as we're reminded that we are living in this upside down kingdom where the last is first and the least is greatest. Be blessed today.